Hi everyone and welcome to the webinar where I'm especially delighted to have with me my special guest today, Reena Malra. Hi Reena, how are you? Are you there?
Hi Matthew, I am great, thank you. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you very much. Well, thanks very much for taking a bit of time out of your busy day to spend a bit of time with us. And the reason obviously why you're on this call is you're coming to the Ultimate Cashflow Conference and you're going to be one of our star speakers. And I just thought it'd be great for the people coming along who perhaps haven't necessarily met you before or heard you speak, find out a little bit about you. So I guess let's start with a very simple question about how did you actually get started in property?
Yes, good question. Well, hopefully your listeners and attendees will be pleased to know that I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I had to work my way up, especially coming from India and not really having the advantage of being local and having the cultural background. So it was a bit of a challenge. So I always say, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Definitely. And would you say that when you look back on when you actually first got started in property, was there like a pivotal moment that perhaps changed things for you and you thought, you know what, I have to do something different?
Yeah, good question, Matthew. We all conditioned to do things as we've been told over the years. And, I realized that this is exactly what I was doing until there were a few personal, changes in my life, where I realized that I couldn't really continue with the rat race. I had a good job, working 24/7, as you do, working for somebody else and making somebody else rich. Being a single parent with two boys, it's tough to actually be the main breadwinner and bringing up, two boys. That was probably my pivotal moment when I realized that I couldn't continue. Something had to give. There was no quality of life. And that was really the moment I decided I was going to make the change, because there wasn't going to be anybody else who was going to do it for me.
Sure. And obviously making that decision in your mind and wanting to actually move forward and I guess start something that could obviously lead to something much, much bigger than where you were right now. Where you were at the time. Well, what would you say was your first point of call, I guess, in terms of actually thinking about, well, I've made the decision, I obviously need to do something. Where do I go from here?
Yeah, you know what, like I hear from, many of the other investors and my mentees and other people, I was in the same place, like the fear kicked in. It is the unknown, thinking, okay, I know I need to change something, but I don't know where to start. I don't know who to go, what to do. Thankfully, Google came to rescue. I started to Google around and see what was out there, and I started to attend networking events and courses, and eventually you decided, okay, I've got some information, and I'm just going to take the plunge and see how it goes. But I think the most important thing, Matthew, is about making your mind up that you want this to change, whatever in your life that you want it to change, and just focus on that and make it happen.
Sure.
Make it happen. The fear will always be there.
Definitely. And did you find that when you first got started that you were kind of perhaps somewhat overwhelmed by all of the different strategies and techniques that you could do in property, and if you were, how do you kind of go through a process of deciding what it is you wanted to specialize in? Because for people that don't know, one of the things that you are very much famous for is the whole lease option strategy technique, which is a very small niche within the property market. There are dozens and dozens of niches you could choose, but what was it that led you down that route rather than perhaps doing something else crazy like, I don't know, refurbishment or flips or auctions or whatever it may be?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I started like many others buying properties, buying buy-to-let and doing below market value and, all sorts of stuff. But sooner or later, just like me, you will run out of money to put down for deposits and refurbs and do all sorts of stuff. That's when you realize that, you're not, literally, there isn't a tree growing in your backyard, and something, needs to change. And that's when I started to educate myself even further. So I'm not averse to buying, but like I said, sooner or later, the money tree dries. And that's when I started to look at alternative strategies, and I came across control, how to actually get the same benefits by controlling, rather than owning. And that was such an eye-opener. It's actually, Matthew, the best kept secret of the riches.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute just to kind of expand on this a little bit in terms of what lease options is, but you're very right in that you say that, lease options, I'm going to ask you to explain in just one moment, but it's something that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years and not necessarily used in perhaps the way that we've started using it in the property industry in, say, the last 10 or so years, but it has been used very much by developers and certainly people in the commercial field for centuries. So just in your own words, just for the benefits of obviously people listening to this later on, lease options, what is it? What does it mean? How does it work? In a nutshell, obviously I don't want you to go into nitty-gritty because we're going to leave some of that for your talk, obviously, but what is lease options?
Yeah, sure. Well, there are many variables of control, let's put it this way, and I'll talk more on the day. It's going to be really, really exciting, but typically a well-known one is a lease option, and as the name suggests, you actually take control or take an option on a property, and you can have the consent to lease it out, as in rent it out, but there are other variables like purchase option and other bits and pieces that you can do. But the beautiful thing about that also is that you have the right, to rent it out and maybe buy it at a later stage, but you don't have to. So this is a perfect strategy, whether it's a booming market or a glooming market, that's what I say, and hence, I am happy in either market. It doesn't really bother me because I know I can position myself in any market to take advantage of it because of what I have learned, the secrets of the riches.
Sure, and I guess from what you've just said there, one thing that's probably quite important for people to realize as well, touching on another point you made earlier, is that in order to do this kind of strategy, essentially the control strategy, because I know there are lots more things than just lease options, that's just one of them, but I guess for people wanting to get started right now, am I right in saying that they don't actually need a huge amount of money to get going?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes with very little or no risk, and yes, you don't need much money, to actually start controlling. I mean, you may have heard, and I'm sure your listeners have probably heard this, buy a property with £1, and there are lots of question marks out there. Can you really? So that would be exciting to be able to share with everyone that, yes, you can, this is legit, this is legal, what we do, and yes, you don't need much to start.
So for those people out there listening that are kind of wondering, is the market right now a time to get in? I think you kind of answered that in terms of you're happy whether it's a rising or falling market. And clearly you don't need a huge amount of money to get started as well, which for those people that are perhaps, time rich but cash poor, is potentially an ideal strategy for them to choose. In terms of what you're going to be talking about on the day, obviously, we want to kind of keep a few things as a surprise, but can you give us perhaps a slight teaser, advert, so to speak, about some of the things that you might be covering and what people are going to get out of coming to your talk?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, predominantly, I want everybody to know the benefits of control. it's huge, like we just touched on, that it's been around us, being done by builders, developers, etc., and how everyone actually can take advantage of that and do it on a small scale. People worry about doing it on a big scale. You don't have to. You can start at a small scale. So I will be sharing real life case studies on the day where you don't have to have much to start with, and you can still bank thousands of pounds from each and every lead that you get.
That's amazing. So essentially, somebody coming along listening to your talk could through following your strategy very quickly learn the strategies obviously you're talking about, and I know within an hour and a half it's impossible to impart everything, but they would have enough knowledge to perhaps then consider your strategy, the particular one that you're following, to start actually making essentially a really good income for themselves. I can see from what you've said right now, and knowing a little bit about myself having done some of these types of control options in the past, it's very potentially possible for someone to earn, as you say, thousands of pounds a year just from controlling essentially an asset. I mean, would you say that in terms of your experience over the last 5 or 10 years in terms of actually doing this, that what's the one thing that when you get up in the morning and you're thinking about, okay, today I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z, what's the one thing that actually still gets you excited about this strategy? Because I know a lot of people, do strategies over a period of time, but then perhaps change and go on to other things. But you've been doing this for some time now, and you're very well known in the industry for it. What still gets you excited about control?
Yeah, well, I would say what isn't there to be excited about? To be honest, like I said, there is so many benefits of control. I don't need to go and empty my bank balance every time for once. I don't need to worry about what market am I in. Is the market going to change and exposing to risk? I don't worry about how am I going to structure the deal, because I have multiple ways of exiting each and every deal. And again, I will touch on that on the day. So there is so much that I get excited about every morning, Matthew.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm really looking forward to hearing the talk in more detail and seeing you share some of these strategies, because I think, for a lot of people, a lot of the people we speak to, getting started right now is a problem for them in terms of the money aspect, like you say. Since 2008, when we had the crash, it has become more difficult to get finance for a few people. Raising deposits has become slightly more tricky, and this particular strategy is I think a great one for those people that want to actually start building an income for themselves and their families, that will allow them to do this in a safe and ethical manner, but allowing them to at the same time have that choice. So if I was to ask you, say, your thoughts and perceptions right now in terms of the market and how it is right now, what are you kind of feeling out there in terms of sentiment, what you kind of seeing in terms of prices, how you kind of finding vendors when you speak to them, what's your perception of the market at the moment?
Yeah, very good question. The market is changing, as you know. It tends to change frequently. So, I mean, I've been through several, up and down, so I know how it works. So we are already seeing a change in London market and in my backyard, that more and more, offers are not going through. I know lots and lots of people were saying that the properties were going overnight, and the asking prices over the over and above what the seller wants. But I know there were still every 1 in 3 offers were falling through. So there is a lot of noise, a lot of distraction, but in reality there are still properties out there. They are not going through because the lenders are not as flexible and forthcoming in lending like they used to be, used to do before.
Sure.
So there are definite opportunities out there. You just have to follow through these opportunities to make sure that when an offer goes in, or when an agent tells you an offer has been made, you follow through, because 1 in 3 are not going through. and vendors are then getting motivated and open to speak to you.
So it's very, very, very interesting in terms of what you say about the market, and certainly from speaking to some of the other speakers and my own understanding of what's going on in our local market, it's certainly a lot of change still happening out there. But as you say, still opportunity. There's still that opportunity to make and construct a deal that obviously through your particular strategy you're able to put very little money in but control a great cash flow and asset. Thanks very much for kind of sharing with us where you are at the moment, and obviously a few bits on your talk. What I'd just like to finish off with is just a couple of questions which are not necessarily related to your talk, but I'm really interested in terms of the speakers that we've got coming to the Ultimate Cashflow Conference are all world-class speakers, all very experienced, have a lot of expertise in their field, and it's because of certain factors that I believe are inherent in terms of how people essentially follow their passions and their dreams. And I was just interested in I'm going to ask every speaker this, and I've asked a couple so far, but I'm just interested in some of these questions that for me are kind of burning questions as to what's the difference between someone that is successful and someone that actually fails. You know, what are those minute differences? So just a couple of questions to throw out there, and answer them as best or as fully as you can, and it's nothing to be worried about. Trust me, I'm kind of building it up to something like dun dun dun, but it's fine. So one thing I'm interested in is, what would you say is one thing that you do every single day that takes you towards your goals?
Okay, so for me, it's persistence. I'm not, I don't give up. I will always, I believe that there is a breakthrough. I will find a way through. And I just persist through deal after deal and any breakthroughs, really. So for me, it's persistence what gets you through.
Brilliant. And when you got started, and you'd come to that decision that actually what I'm doing right now isn't working for me and I want to do something different, what would you say at that particular moment in your life was your main driving reason why you had to do what you needed to do in order to basically build your portfolio and your property business?
Well, I wanted to quit the rat race. I wanted my time back. I needed to replace my income. I wanted to spend quality time with my boys. I was killing myself, Matthew, working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I just needed to take that control back. And, it's ironic, actually. What I do is control, to take the control back.
Definitely. Well, I do find that when I speak to people, it's having that major overriding reason is one of the reasons why some people succeed and others don't, because their reason isn't strong enough. And obviously the one you've mentioned there is a really strong reason. Perhaps one question I'd ask is, you're obviously extremely successful, very experienced, you've been doing this some time. Have you got, say, a big dream that you still want to achieve, that you're still striving towards at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, building my own portfolio and making sure that I leave a legacy. And I'm now working with my son, who's joined my business. And
Brilliant.
So now, yeah, absolutely.
How old is he?
He's actually 23, Matthew.
Wow. Awesome.
Time flies, yeah. So he joined me about a year and a half after he graduated from university, and we had completely different plans for him, but until we sat down and talked about how he may have midlife crisis like I did and everybody else. So why go out and work hard and make somebody else rich? Let's just test out if he enjoys what I do. And to be honest, a year and a half later, he's absolutely loves it, absolutely loves it, So he's going for it. So that I'm really proud of when I look back, all the hard work that I put into it. And you know what they say, Matthew, charity begins at home. You know,
Definitely.
so to look back and see where I am now, you know, and helping my boys, you know, to go in the right direction. And on top of that, I enjoy and I love helping others. And this is why, you know, I do, you know, I run a very successful one-to-one mentorship program. You know, it's beautiful to be in a place where once you have achieved something, to be able to give back.
But very much so, and I think, you know, what you talked about there in terms of the legacy and having your son join with you to help propel the business forward is just amazing, and gives you that added degree of certainty as well in terms of, you know, you're building this. There's people that are going to continue this, you know, long after we've all gone, and people might listen to this recording 100 years' time and wonder who the hell these people are. You know, there'll still be things happening that we set up now. So just brilliant. So Reena's got a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and she's going to be at the Ultimate Cashflow Conference this November the 21st through to the 23rd. There's still time to get your general admission tickets, just £97, which is £32.50 a day, which is just a crazy amount, but that does include full access to the event, all the slide decks. It also includes 12-month follow-up support from myself, which we're doing on a monthly, basically, webinar chat, and 3 other unreleased bonuses, the 6-figure blueprint, HMO black belt techniques, and business builder online class. So you can get your tickets at tinyurl.com/2014 UCC. I'd like to thank Reena for coming on the call. It was really great call. And just before we go, one final question, just to kind of finish off. If you had one tip, just one tip that people could take away in terms of how to be successful in property, what would you say it would be? And I'm limiting it to just one.
Yeah. Knowledge and support. I know it's 2, but knowledge and support, very important.
Okay, we'll let you cheekily put in 2. Knowledge and support. That's great, and very important too, because a lot of people do get started, as I think we all did, you know, starting to read books, going on a few seminars and things, but you do need, as well as the knowledge, that support to make it work. So things like you're doing, such as the mentorship program and follow-up support programs, do help people actually make the transition from not just reading, but actually doing. So, yeah, great answer. So thanks very much, Reena, for being on the call. It's been great. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing you at the event, telling us how to become exceedingly rich through your particular strategy, Control.
Absolutely. I am so excited and we're really looking forward to it, Matthew. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.